Welcome to the Wellness on Tap podcast with your host, Dr. Debs Eastwood.
So I'd like to welcome the very gorgeous Vicki Chisholm here today. She's sitting opposite me on this sofa, wondering what on earth I'm going to ask her, but confident enough and knows me well enough, I think, to know that we're going to have a really good chat now. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to catching up.
Yeah.
So we've seen each other a few times throughout the year. You gifted me an amazing day space in your company, being taught your strategies and the way that you do things. And I'm deliberately trying to be really vague there so that, we can get you to talk about that. So welcome, Vicki, and thank you for coming today.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, I'm so happy. So as an introduction,
yes,
what would you describe what you do as you as a person, what your offering is to the world?
That's should be really easy, shouldn't it? So
Never is.
On paper and in business, it's very simple. And what I do is business strategy. However, my name's Vicki Chisholm. I don't do things simply. And I don't do things that come in a box. And I really don't like tick boxes. So to ask me what it is that I do in the world comes with a little bit more flair. I add psychic channeling to my business strategies because I don't believe that any business should have the same strategy. I believe we're all different, we all function different, and our businesses are all unique. So I encourage getting out of the box, and I tune in and I use psychic guidance to allow us to flow where the client needs to go. To add some more juice to this, I also tap into the subconscious. And I can also see where a business owner is holding themselves back energetically. So I bring alchemy into it. So we do strategy, we do alchemy, and then we throw in marketing, self-belief, systems and processes. We've now included AI, and we make a business go from doing okay to thriving and scaling and having a bigger purpose and impact.
Absolutely marvellous, and well done for describing it like that. I wasn't going to even attempt that because I wouldn't have done it justice at all. And I think you missed one of the most important things out, that it can all be done from a spa.
It can, yes. Yes, we loved that, didn't we? We had a beautiful little spa day where we did some psychic business strategy and we did some energy work that day. We did some reprogramming and we did the brainstorming in the jacuzzi and a little bit in the sauna as well, I believe.
I believe so.
And then we did a little bit of integration in the swimming pool. And then we went into the little room and we had some lunch and, so we had our private time, but we had the spa access. And yeah, it can all be done in a spa. That's my VIP special.
Yes, and ending up with the massage as well from the hydro bath in the end.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful ending to a fabulous day.
It was. The hydro spa just topped it off. It really did. And when I first started promoting the VIP strategy days, someone actually said to me, "You've actually nailed this." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Because you're not just doing the work with planning it, you're doing the work by shifting the energy, but then you're going into the jacuzzi and you're cementing it in with the vibrations." And I was like, yes, that's the one. And I thought I hadn't even considered that. So thank you very much for that awareness.
Which is beautiful, isn't it?
It is.
So that's not all you do, though, the business strategy days.
No.
So what else is in your box of tricks that you offer to the world?
My box of tricks. Well, to be fair, a lot of my box of tricks depends on the business owner that I'm working with.
Fine.
But if you're asking me to have a menu, so to speak, I have a menu that you can select from. And that menu includes one-to-one work, which is not always in a spa, I'm afraid. That's just on Zoom. There's the one-to-one works that we do together. Then there is my Growth Academy Mastermind, which is a weekly call where every member gets hot seat. We go through strategy, we focus on sales, we focus on mindset, we focus on the energetics of both, and we work out what you're going to do each week. Rather than sitting there twiddling your thumbs, thinking, how am I going to pull this all together? We actually formulate the plan every week. So you are staying on target, staying focused. Any challenges that come up, you've got support. And I have to admit, it is one of my favourite spaces to be. It's my Tuesdays and I love my work days. And so that's the Growth Academy, which is the mastermind space. And then we've got the Fast Track Business Accelerator. Now that is a group coaching program, but it's hybrid and brings in one-to-one support. One thing I found about group coaching, which is really good to some aspects, but I just felt like it meant I was holding back. And I don't like to hold back. I like to make sure everybody's getting what they need from me in that space. So I've incorporated one-to-one work within the group coaching program, and it's 6 modules. And we work through the clarity, becoming the CEO. We tap into what the business needs, how you're going to structure it, the bigger vision, how you're going to bring it all together. And we work together for 6 months. And during that time, you get an opportunity to take your business from meh and give it the sparkle that it really needs so that you can light up. Because I believe that if you're not in alignment with what you're doing, every day you get up is going to feel hard. So when we bring you into alignment, and your business then becomes this magical space of opening up your diary every week going, I'm so excited I get to do this. Pinch me that I'm getting to go and work with these people. Pinch me that I'm getting to go and do podcasts or go to these events or choose to lay in bed till 12 o'clock because I cleared my diary. Having those choices and that particular freedom is more important than building a business that people think they need to build. So that's my main menu and selection, but I'm always open to seeing what's needed as well. So if someone was to come in and say, actually, I just want an hour of your time and I just want you to take me out of the funk and get me on the right place, then we'll just do ad hoc work as well. Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing, really, because you have a unique approach, which is very enjoyable.
Okay.
How can I clarify that? Just your vim, your zest, your energy that comes over in what you do in such a bubbly way that I don't see how people couldn't gravitate towards that if they were having a funk. It kind of, I don't know, if you imagine putting some fizz through a pile of mud on the bottom of a dish, it's going to come through. It's going to move it.
Yeah, I also don't really do the whole victim mindset thing. So when my clients, and I've had a few, they come in and they're very closed-minded and they've got themselves in a real rut. My role is to make sure that they shift that because they deserve better. But there are a lot of people that don't like my buzz, that don't like my energy, that don't like the way that I do things because they just get, how can you be so happy and bubbly or buzzing around like that all the time? Because they're not in that energetic vibration and want it. And that's okay too, because not everybody can keep up with the speed that my brain works. So we have to be realistic, don't we? You know, we're not here for everybody. We're just here for those that are ready for us.
That's very true. So when did you first discover there's the special bits to me that you add in that makes your business strategy different, the psychic nature of it, the channeling nature of it, the intuition?
I didn't. It wasn't me that discovered it. I didn't know I was doing it. I didn't know it was a thing. I was just doing me. And in my previous business, I hired a team because my business was growing and I couldn't do it all on my own. And I found myself getting really frustrated with my team because they couldn't do what I did and I didn't understand why. Because it was just very clear, you know, you can see what the client needs, you fix the problem. This is the task at hand. But they couldn't do what I do because they couldn't tap into what I was tapping into. But I didn't know I was tapping into it. So I thought everyone's brain was the same as mine. And I had this expectation of my staff team. And I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on? Why is this not being fixed? Why are we not getting there? What's missing? And I'm trying to solve this problem. And I had no freaking clue that I was able to solve problems quickly because of my ability to channel and call down information when I needed it. And it took me a few more years to figure that out. And it was actually a business coach that I worked with. And she basically just said, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? She said, for every session you turn up to, you're strategizing for the whole team, the whole group. She said, you're channeling all the time. So when are you going to own who you are?
Ooh.
And I had to sit with that because the thought, I used the word intuitive and I covered what I did as intuitive. I'm very intuitive. I can just feel, I'm empathic. I used it like it was going out of fashion. Oh, I'm an empath. Of course I'm going to feel what you're feeling. But it was more than that. It was more than just feeling somebody else's pain in my body, thinking it's my own, going, damn, what have I just done to my back? And it's actually somebody else's pain. Or why is my shoulder hurting? And then someone next to me going, oh, my shoulder's really bad today. And I'm like, huh? So that kind of empathy came in. So I just used it. I can feel what you're going through because I'm clairsentient. So everything is about feeling for me. I hadn't put the 2 and 2 together that actually I was channeling.
Okay.
Because nobody had ever taught me what that was.
So it was just a complete lack of awareness of its existence. So how could you ever possibly name it?
Exactly. I just thought it was intuition. When I suppose when I became aware of my intuition was when I started learning energy work. So it was 2017. I'd gone through traditional methods and they just weren't for me. And the doctor said I was going to be in a wheelchair by the time I was 40. There was nothing else they could do for me. I had to swallow all these pills just to get by. And I had to go to the pain management clinic to find a way to cope. And by being hit with that wall of resistance and looking at my 3 children, I walked out of that doctor's office that day and went, fuck you. This isn't going to be my life. I'm not going to be crippled for the rest of my life. There has to be another way. So I went home and I reached out to a few people. They put me in contact with my mentors. And I started EFT training. So that's emotional freedom technique, using energy psychology to release energy from the body so you can rewire the brain and move forward. So that was my first step. And when I realized that I had the power within me to start changing my life, even if it was just one tap at a time, it gave me hope. And in that moment of hope, I had an opportunity to create real change. So I kept going with the learning. As I was learning that, I got pulled aside to Reiki and I was like, I'm intrigued. I want to know about it. I just want to understand it. Why am I being pulled here? And I'd been pulled for years and years, but I'd always suppressed it. And I was like, I'm in a free space now. I can explore. And then I went on and did life coaching so that I could understand the mindset and how we get ourselves out of difficult perceptions. So I did 16 weeks of psychotherapy. I walked in and I walked out and nothing had changed for me. And that was that was a really painful experience. So within 2 years of starting the EFT, Reiki, the life coaching and picking up on other things along the way, I had cleared my symptoms of fibromyalgia. I had overcome the debilitating anxiety. I was able to sleep at night. I was running around with my kids. I'd learnt to ride a motorbike and I had completely given myself something I never thought I'd have: freedom.
That's remarkable. I know the freedom of being on a motorbike as well, so I know exactly what kind of freedom you're talking about there. But to go from being told you're going to be in a wheelchair to running around with your kids and riding a motorbike, pat on the back. I mean, that's just incredible. That shows real strength of character and complete bloody mindedness, maybe, that wasn't going to be you.
I was just about to say more stubbornness and determination.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So had you had the diagnosis of fibromyalgia for a while then?
Yeah. They were going to give me a mastectomy when I was 26 because the fibroadenemias in my chest were so bad that even just taking a bra off would have me in tears. But what they said was, because I smoked at the time, they would take both the breasts off, but they wouldn't be reconstructing me. And I was 26. And I suppose that just another sheer determination in my mind. I'm not going to have it done, but I'm not going to have these lumps forever. And I think within about 8 months of that appointment, the lumps had gone, and I hadn't done anything. I didn't know about Onergy at that point. I was still trapped in an abusive relationship at that point in my life. So there wasn't any freedom, but I don't know what I did. I think I just turned off the tap that was saying, this is it. But yeah, the fibroadenemias were so big, they wouldn't have had any other choice but to remove the breasts.
Well, that's really quite something at any age, but
yes.
At 26. Gosh.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's quite an eye-opener. And like you say, a testament to bloody mindedness, stubbornness, determination, whatever you want to call it. But either way, and especially before you were aware of all of these things that you became aware of later on in life.
Yeah.
Different healing modalities.
I'd always been drawn, always been drawn to it. Always been drawn to the curiosity of what's on the other side.
When do you first remember that?
Well, I think what started was when I was 13 and I would have these dreams, and within 6 months I'd be in that dream that I just had 6 months ago. So my reality was here. So I remember one specific dream. I remember saying it to my friend, and when it happened, she was like, I don't know what you're talking about, because she'd forgotten. I hadn't forgotten because it was so vivid. So the dream that I had was there was these blue walls in this flat. I'd never seen this flat before in my entire life. And there was one person sitting there and another person sitting there and another one there. And there was a door there. And it was like painted Artex on the walls. And it was this really, really distinguishing blue. It wasn't like a dark navy blue, and it wasn't like a bright powder blue, but it was a really distinctive blue. And I just remember sitting there in that moment, like almost jumped out of my skin with the deja vu that I had. But this was a recurring theme. But I think this particular one was the one that I woke up to. I was like, I can't ignore this anymore. This is something. There is something here. Why am I having premonitions? But I'd been having them for years. And it started when I was 13, but this particular one was when I was about 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it took a while for you to accept it, really?
Well, yeah, but I didn't have the processing time either to consider it. Life was very fight and flight. It was very much survival for a very long time. Okay. So there wasn't any, let's explore this. It was that's just freaked me out. And now I need to just, cope with what's happening in the here and now. And then the next thing that happened was I went to see a medium. My first daughter, must have been about 2. So I was 21 at the time. And this medium, he was brilliant. He was absolutely amazing. Everybody raved around him. And at that time, I was so excited to book this appointment. I was thinking, can't wait to see what's going to happen. So just a little bit of a backstory here. My grandmother died December 17th, 2004. 4 weeks before she died, we were all having a final meal because we had just discovered she only had 4 weeks to live.
Right.
In the same weekend, I discovered I was pregnant. So fast forward a few years, I was half expecting my gran to come in and, her first great grandchild, she'd be coming and talking to me. This was my vision, right? This is what's going to happen. This is going to be great. Yeah, no, didn't happen. What did happen was another grandparent came through, which unraveled information for a future me, which I wasn't ready for. So that was quite a scary experience that I went through there. And it was very strong, this energy that came through. And then, so we're navigating all of that. And then the next thing I know, I'm sat in the chair and I'm frozen. I can hear, I can see, I cannot move. I could not move. So this medium sat there and he drew out this picture of what had just come in. And it was a Chinese guide that had just stepped forward. Most people talk about having Indian guides. No, mine was Chinese. And what it said was there was someone trying to use my body to speak through me, so trance. And that freaked me out. I ended up going to spiritual circle, closed me down, showed me, there's clearly something here I need to work with. I don't understand it. I'm absolutely petrified. I'm young. I need support. So I went off to this spiritual circle thing and was learning more about connection and growth. And yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. I was going to bed at night and freaking feeling like I was levitating off the bed and all sorts was going on. It was just really, really horrible. So I just shut down. I was like, no, we need to close me down. I'm not ready for this. The life I was living wasn't safe enough for me to be exploring this either, to be honest. I didn't trust. So to work with spirit, you need to be able to trust the guidance you're receiving. You need to be able to trust yourself. Well, I had zilch, literally nothing. So then I was like, what do I do with this? And, yeah, so that was it. That was really what woke me up, the medium. From one medium sitting to
that's abrupt.
to my entire life changing.
That's a massively abrupt awakening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It wasn't easy to navigate, that's for sure, especially with my nervousness anyway, with life, let alone afterlife, and things being there that shouldn't be there, and things being moved and they're not being moved, and pictures coming off the wall. And it just wasn't really ideal. But I think when I look back now, I just feel there was someone trying to tell me something, almost as if, stay strong because we've got you. But I wasn't open to receiving the message at the time. So yeah, that's where it all kind of started, really.
So you certainly weren't working in the area that you are now.
Nope, not at all. I was working in social care. At the age of 16, I got a job in a residential care home. And I was only earning £2 an hour. I was working 60 hours a week. And I was so naturally able to do the job that they would just leave me to run the home at weekends with agency staff.
Oh, gracious me.
So from the age, I've always been left to my own devices to just crack on, basically. So yeah, no, it was social care that I was in, not what I do now.
That's very, very different then, isn't it? But you were clearly showing strengths at that age, at that young age, of being able to cope with situations and think things through. If you were looking after the care home all weekend, agency staff, I mean, the thought of employing people and not that you were employing them, but you were acting as their employer and getting a really serious business running.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a huge responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah. I also had to make decisions as, do I let them deal with the drugs or do I go and do it?
Wow.
Yeah, some of the agency staff weren't really fit for purpose.
Okay. Swiftly moving on.
We all know those stories. We don't need to go there, but yeah.
Absolutely. And then from what you were saying, if that was at 16, it wasn't long after that you discovered you were going to have your first child.
Yes. I was 18 when I found out I was pregnant, and it was a shock, but there was no way that baby was going anywhere. I'd made that decision. But then knowing that my granddad was passing the same weekend I found out I was pregnant, there was no way that baby was going anywhere else. So unfortunately, my gran didn't make it to stick around for the first scan. She was gone within the 4 weeks that they said. And at the first scan, the most beautiful thing. So we had the scan photos, and I've still got them. And on the scan photos is this picture of a baby with a woolly hat. And my mum took a picture of me as a baby in a woolly hat, and it almost looked identical.
Wow.
And I just saw that as a sign that my nan was with me. She was with us.
Looking after your
It was
unborn.
almost as if I needed to have my child so my nan could pass on. So she lives in us all the time, really. But
of course.
It was, it was quite an experience, I have to say.
Absolutely. So
Don't do anything easy. I can't even fall pregnant and be easy. That bit was the easy bit. I had to blink.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the what comes after that's rewarding but never easy, isn't it?
No, yeah, parenting's not my best topic, I have to admit. It's been tough. It has been tough. Even being in a relationship, having a baby is tough, isn't it? But being in a relationship, being abused and raising children and not knowing that, it was even harder. So I was always alone in parenting. I was never in a partnership with it. And to then later find out that my daughter had a life-threatening condition with special educational needs, which was never really formally assessed properly. So we were kind of given a diagnosis and crack on with your life. We were given an EHCP, but it wasn't really displaying her true natures and what she really needed. And I just always felt like I was banging my head off of a wall. But I think in today's society, it's still the same now. We don't seem to get the help we need when we need it. And actually, a lot of us are uneducated in what we're dealing with because we're not given the facts that we should be given. And I just, so that's pretty raw topic for me, this one. There's been a lot that's been very painful as a parent to try and navigate, let alone build a business.
Absolutely. I mean, what is it that society seems to think that all of a sudden you become a parent and you just know it all? You just know how to look after a child. You just know how to navigate the school system. You just know how to do X, Y, Z and A, B, C at the same time.
Yeah. I thought I did. You know, I had always looked after all the babies in the family. I was one of the oldest. So there's my older brother and then there's me. And then all the other children came along after that. So I'd always been the babysitter. So that was all I knew, really. Looking after other people became my natural, looking after babies, making sure they've been fed, if they've been bathed, if they're going to sleep at night. You know, my mum and dad used to go and work night shift. I'm 13-year-old, bottle feeding my brother through the night so that my parents could go and work, and then getting up the next day and going to school.
That's a tough call. So
I instinctively knew how to look after babies, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. So yeah, when my turn for parenting became a thing, I was totally knocked on my arse.
Yeah, because I suppose at 13, yes, you were looking after your younger siblings and going to school and being very busy. But at the end of the day, the full responsibility, I'm hoping, wasn't yours with your younger siblings because you did have parents.
Yeah, my mum was around. My dad is an alcoholic, so no, he wasn't really there much. But I didn't just look after my brothers. I looked after all the cousins as well. Yeah, it was, I've only got 3 brothers, so I had 2 younger. But in our family circle on my mum's side, there's 9 of us. And I'm the only girl. All the rest are boys. And yeah, so I used to babysit for them all. And it was interesting. I never felt like I fitted in.
Yeah, there's a different role to play, isn't it, to everybody else, apart from just gender. You know, the one doing all the looking after and the babysitting.
But it's generational, though. My mum was the same. She grew up looking after her siblings. I just think that's just the way life was for so many. I don't think it was deliberate. I don't think there was I just think it became the norm.
Yeah. No, I have to agree with you.
For back then. You know, when I look at the larger families as well, that my great-grandfather was one of 13. They all looked after each other, you know? So that generation has then passed down and passed down and passed down. I'm hopeful, my fingers are crossed here, my legs and toes, that I've broken that cycle now. But I just think in general, there has been generationally, everyone looks after each other, don't they? You don't bat an eyelid, you just do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. So from all this caring, when was the first time you thought, I'm good at this problem solving here and business? How did that all come about?
So social care became quite volatile. When I was pregnant with my second daughter, I was working in homelessness and trafficked children and all kinds of different environments. But in one of the hostels, which was in Brighton, there was a particular incident, and I'm in early stages of pregnancy, and a glass ashtray skimmed my head by about an inch. And that was the day I made my decision that I couldn't continue this work. I didn't want to. I was exhausted, I was tired, I was a mum now, I had responsibilities, so I wanted something else. So because I couldn't sit and relax, with my maternity leave with my eldest, I studied bookkeeping and became a bookkeeper. But I hated it with a passion. But I thought, well, I've got my qualification, so we're just going to have to run with this.
Okay, I can earn some money from this.
Yeah, but I didn't go into bookkeeping. I just went into admin. And someone said to me, why have you gone into admin of all the things to do? And I was like, because I'm bloody good at it. Every time I went into a placement, because I did my work mainly on agency as I got older, and every time I went into placement, I wouldn't be doing much of the support work. I'd be doing all the files and getting them CQC prepared. That's what they'd hire me for.
Right.
Because I think it was a problem I could solve that wasn't emotional. So it was my way of escape, but I didn't know that at the time.
Okay, so looking back, you had an awful lot of emotion going on outside of work.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of emotion in the work when you're dealing with people, isn't there? You know, you're dealing with people with additional needs, addictions. So you've always kind of got to be on guard as well, because you never know who's going to kick off when. So your nervous system's constantly on the go. But yeah, I used to just do all the CQC paperwork. If they had audits coming in, no matter which house they were in, because the company that I worked for as an agency, they had like 4 different houses. One of them I managed on my own, which was a 22 bed. No, it wasn't a 20, it was a 12 bed. And the other one was more supported accommodation. So you had more staff on site. But yeah, whenever they had to call, I'd have to go through the houses to go and get all the paperwork up to date. And then one of my old managers had set up a counselling. She'd taken over and was running a counselling organisation. She said, Vicki, I need some admin support. Would you want to come and do a couple of hours? And I was like, yeah, actually, I do, because I need a change. I need to be able to be here for my children. I don't want to work all of this anymore. So that was what kick-started it. And then as time went on, I was like, it's not quite earning me enough where I need. So I ended up going to work for Refuge, which opened up a whole new can of worms for me. And then I left Refuge and thought, fuck it, and set up my own business.
Yay.
In admin, bookkeeping, became a social media manager. I was one of the first in the country to have a social media manager diploma in 2012 into 2013. 2013, I got it. And yeah, just hit the ground running because marketing just came naturally to me. It was what I did. It was what I knew. And now I know better because I was channeling what the client needed. So it just made more sense. And that's really how the entrepreneurial journey began.
Wow. So you've been nurturing your entrepreneurial spirit for quite a few years now then.
12
years.
Yeah.
And you sound as though you're really happy with what you're doing right now. Some aspects more than others, but some aspects, it's obvious, really light you up.
Do you know what I love the most about it? is knowing that I'm giving people the space to be who they are in their business.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me emotional. Because as a society, especially in the corporate world, one thing we don't do is give people space to be who they are.
True.
So it's almost a little bit of my mission to help entrepreneurs be who they are and what they do and stop all the bullshit. That's it.
Yeah,
Stop
you're very
it.
much a no BS kind of girl, aren't
Absolutely.
you? Yes.
Do we have time for it though?
At the end of the day, no, but there's a lot of it about, isn't there?
There is, but at what point do we keep giving our power away to that?
That's a very big question.
It is. And it's one that I will keep asking every single time I have to. Because every time we give our power away to it, we're feeding something that it doesn't exist. And we're not living the way that we should. The way, I know we shouldn't use the word should, but there is so much more to us as human beings than we give ourselves credit for. And the BS of the mind doesn't really serve the higher purpose.
No, I would agree with that.
So at some point, someone's got to come along and give you a great big size 5 up the rear. And if I have to be the person to do it, I'll oblige, no problem.
So the things that you really enjoy, do you see you adding to those and evolving going forwards as well?
Yes. Well, something off my menu that I actually didn't mention was quite a huge part of my bigger purpose. So earlier this year, I brought out a brand new certification, which is in beta at the moment, as a soul-aligned offer and sales strategist for spiritually awake entrepreneurs. The feedback I'm getting, and we're almost coming to the end of the first 8 weeks, and then we go into case studies. And the feedback has literally had me crying happy tears.
Oh, wonderful.
Because one of the ladies that's been doing it, and this isn't just for females, this is for all genders. I just seem to attract more feminine energy than I do masculine at the moment. But she said of all the years that she's done sales, she's never been shown the way I showed her. I had another comment from one of the trainees and it just melted my heart. I can finally see how I can grow my business.
How lovely.
And I thought, do you know what, that's priceless. That is priceless to me. Because when you're growing a business, there is so much to think about. There is so much to do. There is so much to learn. There is all this stuff. But to have someone come along and actually say, well, this is what we're going to do. We are going to simplify it. And then we are going to learn the sales process. And we do nothing else until that's finished. Once you've done that, then you can thrive. Then you can move on. Then you can scale. But if you don't overcome those first hurdles, where are you going to go from there?
Absolutely. And I think that is so needed because it's very easy to have an idea about, oh, I'd like to have my own business and I really enjoy doing this, so that's what I'm going to do. And then, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm assuming for a lot more people than just me, it's like, right, how do I actually do this? And even if conceptually you've got some of the larger steps, it's breaking it down that's so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. So the bigger vision is that by the end of 2025, I would have trained 50 students in this. And then we are looking at expanding with allowing those students to become trainers.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
That sounds amazing.
So the ripple effect will continue.
Yes.
And I won't have to continue doing it all on my own.
Which is important because I'm sure by then there will have been other things.
Oh, yeah. I don't sit still long, do I? So my creative brain's definitely on the go. I have got another book to write, so that is on the agenda.
Excellent. So you need to find some time somewhere in all this crazy world that you live in, this busyness.
Yes, I do. But that's what I have a motorbike for.
Yeah. So do you find then, literally the freedom of the road?
I think it's a bit more than just the freedom of the road for me. I think it's my bubble. I've got my protective gear on. I've got music in my helmet. The kids can't badger me. The dog can't bark and scare me out of my wits. The door isn't going to go with deliveries or post or a neighbour. When I'm on my bike, it's just me. Because I'm so busy trying to keep myself alive, I don't have time to think about anything else. So it's like a form of meditation. But yeah, it is a form of freedom because you just get on the bike and you ride. And as you ride, you can take the road wherever you want to go. You can literally just put a pin in the map and go, I'm just going to go there for the day and just explore and see. With no rhyme, no reason. You just get to be a human for however long it takes in the day. I like getting up early in the morning and having a full day of it, exploring different things. I think one of the best things I did was when my mum came to visit and I was like, I'm going away for the weekend, bye. And I just took off and went to the lakes. I invited some of my biker friends from a local community and we had the most random but the most amazing weekend. That weekend, one of the younger lads was like, oh, we'll take you up Hard Knot Pass. If you don't know Hard Knot Pass, it is one of the tallest mountain things that you can go over in both a car and on a motorbike. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my entire life as what I was that day on that bike. So you're about 2 inches away from the cliff edge at all times. Now, I have very short legs. And this is a mountain, so it's not really a carved road. So there were times when I actually couldn't reach the floor. And there were hairpins tighter than, it was like a 10-degree angle to get round the twists on this thing. Honestly, how I survived that, I will never know. But I was so proud when I finally got to the top and went, I've done it. I didn't fall off the edge. I didn't kill myself. I didn't kill anyone else in the process. And that gave me a little bit of a, don't want to do it again.
But you've got to get down again.
We did have to get down the other side, but it wasn't as bad.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, the other side wasn't as bad. So it was wider and it was easier to navigate in comparison to the first piece of going up. But yeah, seeing cars do that, I was like, I don't know how they did it, because I was struggling to get my bike to turn around, let alone a car. It was just unbelievable. But we did it and it was an amazing weekend. We had some fantastic memories and we had beautiful views of the Lake District and being by the lakes where you could literally just hear a pin drop.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there, isn't it?
It was just stunning. So yeah, they're the little moments I live for.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Wow, I've gone through a lot worse. That's all I can say. Navigating one mountain, I've probably done about 20 million of those over the years.
Metaphorically,
that was just a physical one.
Yeah. Yeah, the reality. Not that the rest wasn't real, but do you know what I mean? The actuality of it actually being a mountain.
Yeah. Madness is what it is.
So you've got some fabulous future goals.
Yeah.
You've got a timeline to be moving forward.
Yeah.
And the thought of taking people with you must be so exciting.
It literally expands my heart. It's not even a little kid at Christmas with your excited belly thing. This is a heart thing. This is so strong in my heart centre. There's a bigger mission behind it. So my children are actually very spiritually awake. And my middle daughter specifically is very in tune. She knows what's going to happen and she knows when it's going to happen. She can just tap into things very, very quickly. She'll tell me how I'm feeling before I even know how I'm feeling. And when I look at her future and I listen to spiritual entrepreneurs, holistic therapists mainly, and how they struggle to get seen, heard and hired, I just think, no, this isn't going to stay. We have to change this because society's changing. The world is changing. And being spiritually awake is no longer a taboo. It's actually people becoming who they are. So we need to hold a space for that. And traditionally, especially with a lot of the strategists that I have seen, global strategists, local strategists, they're not adapting to the spiritualness that's needed. And if we don't start embedding that into our now generation to bring up the next generations with it, the next generations are going to really struggle. And I know it is changing, but there is still so much that's closed off. I mean, if we could even get this into corporate, where they're actually allowing their staff teams to be more spiritually awake, to learn, the manifestations and the marketing they would do would be off the scale. The sales would be so much more magnetic. But because of policy and procedure, and because not everything can be explained, they're just kind of going, well, we'll do a wellness day, as if that's going to fix everything. I mean, come on. So yeah, there is a bigger mission behind what I'm trying to achieve right now. And I just hope one day that it will be what I envision.
I love that. Good on you. I didn't think you'd have a tiny little mission. I knew there'd be something huge going on in there. So thank you for speaking about it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So a year ago, I had this amazing idea that I wanted to reach the hearts of over 100,000 entrepreneurs. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. I didn't do it in the way that I thought I would, but I 3 times it.
There you go.
And that was just by running summits, my podcast, and doing an Advent bundle last year.
Beautiful.
I reached over 300,000, an audience of over 300,000 within about 3 months.
That's pretty incredible, to say the least. Yeah. Yes. So no wonder that you've got this vision, because you now have the history, if you like, behind you to show you that what you do does work. It does have impact. It does have an effect.
Well, it's changed my life. And when I saw the power of the knowledge that I had, I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. And that's what drove me to go on the journey that I've been on.
Which is fabulous. Long may it continue, my darling.
Indeed. I don't see it calming down anytime soon.
No, you've got way too much energy inside you to be stopping right now. No.
Digressing maybe and going in slightly different directions perhaps, but...
what will be, will be.
Exactly. I'm open for the adventure. Entrepreneurial space is all about adventure, right?
Isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it? Well, I'd love to touch base with you again going forwards to see how this pans out.
That would be amazing.
Fabulous. So thank you, my lovely, for coming here today. I've enjoyed your company no end.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved spending this time with you.
Thank you, darling.